everyone. So today we will study about fluid statics. Now as the name suggests, fluid statics means the study of fluid at rest or the study of forces acting on the fluid which is at rest. So basically there are two types of forces acts on the fluid element. The very first force is the body force. Body force is an external force which acts throughout the mass of the body. For example, gravitational force. For example, magnetic force if it is under the influence of magnetic field. For example, electrostatic force if it is under the influence of electrostatic field. So these all forces are the body force which acts throughout the mass of the fluid. And these are basically external forces. Second type of force is the internal force, or you can call it as surface force. This surface force is because of the neighboring fluid elements. That is why it is called as the internal force. Now this surface force can be either perpendicular to the surface, which is called as the normal force, or it can be either along the surface, which is called as the shear force. Now when we are talking of the fluid which is at rest, there will not be any shear force or no frictional force because the fluid is at rest. Second thing, there will be no tensile force acting on the fluid element because from all the sides the fluid is getting the compressive force or compressive pressure. So suppose I am considering a small fluid element, a small tetrahedron fluid element inside the fluid, and the stresses acting from all the sides. Suppose in x direction sigma x is acting, in y direction sigma y is acting, in z direction sigma z is acting, and there is one more stress acting sigma n, which is normal to this surface. So basically there are four surfaces in a tetrahedron and the stresses acting are sigma x, sigma y, sigma z and sigma n. Now it can be easily proved that this sigma x is equal to sigma y is equal to sigma z and which is equal to sigma n. If you want, you can refer my different lecture for this proof. So all the stresses acting in that particular fluid element, the stresses acting from all the sides are equal in magnitude and equal in direction. And this is nothing but the Pascal's law. Pascal's law says that if you are having a fluid at rest, the stresses acting on that fluid element from all the sides is equal in magnitude and direction. That is called as the Pascal's law. So that stress or that pressure which is acting equal in magnitude and direction from all the directions, from all the sides, is called as the hydrostatic stress, or you can call it as hydrostatic pressure. And if you remember this thing, I have already told you this thing in mechanics of solid subject when we were dealing with the Mohr circle. And I told you one thing, that for this hydrostatic stress element or the hydrostatic pressure element, the Mohr circle will be a point on the negative direction because all the forces are compressive. So for this particular element, according to Pascal's law, if the fluid is following Pascal's law, then the Mohr circle of that particular fluid element will be a point. And as the Mohr circle is a point, as I told you, the shear stress should be equal to 0. And we know tau is equal to mu du by dy. That means if the fluid is following Pascal's law, then the tau should be equal to 0. Okay, now let us check the validity of this Pascal's law under different situations, different conditions of fluid. For a static fluid, as we know, for a static fluid, since tau is equal to mu du by dy, since for a static fluid du is equal to 0, therefore tau is equal to 0, and this static fluid will obviously follow the Pascal's law. Now what about the fluid in motion? So suppose we are having the fluid in motion, and first case we are considering for the ideal fluid. So if we are having the ideal fluid, since tau is equal to mu du by dy, and because the fluid is in motion, obviously du by dy cannot be equal to 0, but because the fluid is an ideal fluid, therefore mu is equal to 0. And since mu is equal to 0, again tau is equal to 0, and hence the Pascal's law is valid for the ideal fluid which is under motion. Now coming to the real fluid, suppose we are having a real fluid which is in motion, then whether it will follow the Pascal's law or not. So we are considering the first situation in which the fluid is having a rigid body motion. Rigid body motion means the complete fluid is flowing with the same velocity. The velocity is not changing with respect to depth. Okay, so for rigid body motion, since du is equal to 0, since velocity is not changing, we are getting a rectangular velocity element, we are getting the rectangular velocity curve. That means du is equal to 0. So for the fluid under rigid body motion, tau should be equal to 0. That means the Pascal's law is still valid for the real body fluid which is under motion but which is having a rigid body motion. But in actual case this rigid body motion is not possible, because in actual case obviously the fluid velocity will change throughout the depth. So considering the next case, which is non-rigid body motion or non-uniform motion of a real fluid. Now since this is a non-uniform motion, that means du by dy is not equal to 0. Second thing, this is a real fluid, therefore mu is also not equal to 0, and hence tau is not equal to 0 and Pascal's law is not valid. So this is the only case in which the Pascal's law will not be valid. So I will again repeat this. The very first is the static fluid. So in a static fluid, whether the fluid is real or ideal, Pascal's law is valid. Since for a static fluid du is equal to 0, hence tau is equal to 0, so Pascal's law is valid in real as well as ideal fluid. Now when we are coming to the fluid in motion, so for ideal fluid, since mu is equal to 0, tau is equal to 0, hence Pascal's law is valid. So in ideal fluid, whether the fluid is at rest or whether the fluid is at motion, Pascal's law is valid. Now coming to the fluid in motion of a real fluid. So the real fluid, the first case is that of the rigid body motion. So if the motion is rigid body motion, that means all the fluid complete throughout the depth is moving with the same velocity. Du is equal to 0, tau is equal to 0, hence Pascal's law is valid. Next, for non-rigid body motion, so here since du is not equal to 0, therefore du by dy not equal to 0, and since this is a real fluid, mu is also not equal to 0, therefore tau is not equal to 0, hence Pascal's law is not valid. And as I told you, whenever Pascal's law is valid, the Mohr circle for that will be a point. Now another form of Pascal's law says that in a confined fluid, if I am applying the force or pressure at one end, each and every point of that confined fluid will have equal increase in that much amount of pressure. That means whatever pressure, suppose I am applying P pressure at one end, each and every point of that confined fluid will, the pressure of that, all those points will increase by P amount. This is also Pascal's law, and this law is widely used in engineering applications. If you have seen the hydraulic lifts, if you have seen the hydraulic brakes or hydraulic lifts, hydraulic cranes, in all these principles, in all these devices, this principle is used. How? I will tell you. So how does a hydraulic lift works? This is very interesting. Now suppose you want to lift a car. So what you can do is you have to lift the car with less force. Suppose this car is having 100 kilonewton of load. Obviously you cannot apply that much load to lift this car, so you have to lift this car with less amount of load. So what we are doing is we are having this type of arrangement. So here suppose the diameter is d and here the diameter is, let's suppose, 10 times of d. Now how can we lift the car? So we will apply the force here at a smaller end. We will apply certain force, suppose F amount of force we are applying. Now because of that force some pressure is created, and because this is a confined fluid, so that pressure will be equal in all the directions according to Pascal's law. So here at bigger end also the pressure will be same. So equating the pressure at two ends, so here the pressure is F by small a, let's suppose area here is a small a, is equal to 100 kilonewton by capital A. Now small a is pi by 4 into d square, capital A is pi by 4 into 10 times of d square. Okay, so this will be F by A is equal to 100 by 100A. That means this F will be equal to just 1 kilonewton. Now can you imagine, with just 1 kilonewton of force we can lift a car which is of 100 kilonewton of weight. So this is the application of Pascal's law in the hydraulic press. Next is the differential equation of pressure intensity at a point. So let's suppose we are having a fluid element having dimensions dx by dy by dz. Here is the coordinate axis, here we have x direction, and here we are having the z direction, and perpendicular to this screen we are having the y direction. Now let's suppose the dimension dy is equal to 1 unit. For our convenience, if you want you can consider this dy, ultimately it will be cancelled out. So we are having a fluid element having dimensions dx by dz by 1. Now let's suppose the pressure at the center of this element is suppose P. Let's suppose the pressure variation in x-axis, pressure variation rate is suppose dp by dx, and in z-axis the pressure is varying with the rate of suppose dp by dz. Now if the pressure at the center point is P if I want to determine the force acting at this particular end, at left end. Now what is the pressure acting here? Now because the pressure is varying with respect to x-axis at the rate of dp by dx, and the whole distance is dx, half of the distance will be dx by 2. Okay, so the force acting here will be, the pressure here will be P minus dp by dx into dx by 2. dp by dx is for per unit length, for the length dx by 2 it will be P minus dp by dx into dx by 2 into dz, because this was the pressure. If I multiply it by area, it will become force. Okay, so area of this section is dz by 1, dy is 1. Okay, so this will be P minus dp by dx into dx by 2 into dz, and here it will be P plus dp by dx into dx by 2 into dz. Now coming to the vertical direction in z axis, so at the bottom the pressure would be, the force would be P minus dp by dz into dz by 2 into dx, and at the top the force would be P plus dp by dz into dz by 2 into dx. Okay, so these are the forces acting on all four planes. Now apart from this, there is some weight of the body which will also act at the center. So these are all the forces acting on this particular fluid element. Now for equilibrium, summation of fx should be equal to 0. That means here P minus dp by dx into dx by 2 into dz minus P plus dp by dx into dx by 2 into dz, this should be equal to 0. And from here we will get what? dp by dx is equal to 0. Now very important conclusion, dp by dx is equal to 0. That means the pressure is not varying with respect to x-axis. That means at the same horizontal plane, the fluid pressure will be same at every point of the horizontal plane. Pressure is not varying with respect to horizontal plane, with respect to x-axis. Now what with respect to z-axis? So summation of fz is equal to 0. What we will get is P minus dp by dz into dz by 2 into dx minus P plus dp by dz into dz by 2 into dx. Now apart from this, a weight is also acting downward. So the total weight is equal to specific weight into volume. So specific weight is gamma, volume is dx into dz. So this will be minus gamma dx dz. This should be equal to 0. And from here we will get what? Minus dp by dz is equal to gamma. Now again an important conclusion, the pressure was not varying with respect to x-axis, but the pressure is varying with respect to z-axis. That means the pressure varies with respect to height. And with the help of this equation, dp by dz is equal to minus of gamma, we can determine the pressure at a height h. How? This dp by dz is equal to minus gamma, or you can say dp is equal to minus gamma by dz. Now let's suppose we want to determine the pressure which is at a height h from the surface of the fluid, surface of the liquid. Okay, so what we can do is we can integrate it. Integration of dp is equal to minus integration from h to 0 gamma into dz. Okay, further it can be written as integration of dp is, suppose P, total pressure P is equal to integration from 0 to h gamma into dz. Okay, now if we integrate it, we will get what? This P will be equal to gamma into h. This gamma is nothing but a specific weight, which is nothing but rho into g, or you can say P is equal to rho g h. Okay, so this is the pressure at a height h, and this theorem is called as the Torricelli theorem. Total pressure at a height h is equal to rho g h. Very important. That means pressure is directly proportional to height, since the density of that fluid, let's suppose, is constant. G is also constant. That means for a constant density fluid, okay, that this pressure is directly proportional to height. That means we are getting the pressure is increasing linearly. We will get a linear line, linear increase in pressure. Okay, in case if the density is changing, then obviously we will have to put the value for gamma with respect to which the density is changing. The variable gamma will have to put, and from there we can determine the pressure, total pressure. Now we can draw another important conclusion from this formula. Let's suppose we have this static fluid. I am considering two different points, two random points. This is point 1, which is at a distance z1 from the bottom, and this is point 2, which is at a distance z2 from the bottom. Okay, now we have seen what dP is equal to minus gamma into dz. Now here the pressure at point 1 is suppose P1 and at point 2 the pressure is P2. Okay, so if I integrate it, I will get what? Integration from P1 to P2 dP is equal to minus integration from Z1 to Z2 gamma into dz. Now further this will be equal to P2 minus P1 is equal to minus gamma into Z2 minus Z1. Now you can write it as P2 by gamma plus Z2 is equal to P1 by gamma plus Z1. Now what is this P by gamma plus Z? This is nothing but piezometric head. So what we can conclude here is the piezometric head at every point of the static fluid is same. Piezometric head at all the points of the static fluid. Piezometric head means P by gamma plus Z. This piezometric head is same at all the points. So you can write this note. For a static fluid, piezometric head remains constant throughout the fluid. Now another important note you can write for a given pressure measurement in two different fluids, since P is equal to rho1 GH1 which is also equal to rho2 GH2, or you can write it as rho1 H1 is equal to rho2 H2, or you can write it as S1 H1 is equal to S2 H2, or gamma 1 H1 is equal to gamma 2 H2. That means if you have the the pressure in terms of height of one fluid, you can easily determine the pressure in terms of height of the other fluid. For example, suppose the pressure is given as 100 meter of kerosene and you have to determine the same pressure in terms of meter of water. So how can we determine? Let's suppose the specific gravity of kerosene is 0.8, so rho into H for kerosene is equal to rho into H for water. Okay, density of kerosene will be equal to 800, 0.8 into 1000, 800 into 100 is equal to 1000 into HW. So from here we can determine HW, which is equal to 80 meter of water. That means 100 meter of kerosene is equivalent to 80 meter of water. So this is how you can convert from one fluid to other. Rho1 H1 is equal to rho2 H2. Now third important note. Now suppose we are having three different pipes. First is the straight vertical pipe, which is of 80 centimeter length. Second is the inclined pipe, which is of 120 centimeter length, and third is the zigzag pipe. Zigzag means the total length is, let's suppose, 100 centimeter. Now if I ask you what is the water level is same in all these pipes. Now if I ask you what is the pressure at the bottom of these pipes, which pressure will be highest? So obviously, because the level of water is same in all the pipes, so irrespective of whatever be the length of the pipe, we will calculate the vertical length only, the vertical distance only will be taken. That means the H in that rho GH, that H is nothing but the vertical distance. So this H is same in all the pipes, so the pressure will be same in all the pipes. Okay, so the H in this rho GH is the vertical distance and not the total length of the pipe.